Welcome everyone. Monday meditation. Delicious breath. Just clearing the mind, relaxing the body, coming into this moment. Delicious breath. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Sherry. Peace, the most profound healing tool, perhaps. Great yogis can be in that deep state of peace and hardly be even breathing, hardly doing anything. Super profound deepness. Nice deep breath. Beautiful peace, delicious peace. Just allow it to wash through. Just bathing organs and glands. Stillness is a healing phenomenon. When I was making up the list of healing power tools, I was remembering an initial list I made back before COVID, right at the beginning of COVID. Actually, it was kind of a offering to the world of, hey, how about this? And I actually couldn't find the sheets today. I was going to use that as a basis, but what I like about that, when I can't find something, is I have to come up with something new, which allowed me to completely reconsider all the healing tools. I'm just kind of listing them out. And it turns out that it's sort of like a taproot, right? The more there's there, the more you pull up, there's just even more there. So it's like, wow, all these tools are connected. How do I separate them out? So what came up first was this idea that there's a whole set of, it's like a whole department, sort of the inner landscape. So meditation, deep self, so many aspects to that. And then there's the external world, how we project out, how we transmit, how we touch, how we communicate through sound, voice, syllable, sentence. But then the mysterious domain is that which is in between, right? It's kind of like the mind, telepathic communication. I think I made the list here. So the idea is that the in-between zone is sort of like a free agent on a football team, right? That guy can play for any team. So that would be the mind, right? The mind is, where did it go? Oh my God, it's not even local. So sometimes it's just loco. So tools of creation tend to start with the mind, and yet what's more powerful than the mind, we could argue, is the breath, because you can control the mind with the breath. And then that sort of contains the whole arena of intention, frequency, visualization, active imagination. I wrote down non-reactivity. That's an important bandwidth, because if you're full of charge, you might be able to heal somebody, but you might not, because you're just projecting your charge. But if you're feeling that peace, then you could say all these tools kick into effect. And we've got breath, not death, right? states of consciousness. Let's just consider that for a minute. So at the root, pure I am self, the non-local dimension, which is beyond time and space. When you get into listing power tools, you start to realize, actually time is a tool. Space is the tool. You can drop space in, sometimes you have to wait on the healing. Something takes a while to unfold. I did a whole session last week on the different, call it, elemental tools: earth, air, fire, water, crystal, star, light, right? Black holes. These are all things kind of part of the external projection unit self, which you could say is sort of the outer pathways, called the open-eyed, open-wide delivery system, right? Outer transmission. Your heart is this 50,000 femtotesla field just blazing away. And so this considers the body as a kind of antenna. So it's like a sending state. It involves a telepathic, maybe even more so than the deep beingness. There's information downloads that come in. That's also, you could say, in the deep beingness department, but when you're transmitting, you need the downloads. And one important thought would be to say that health is realization. Because until then, you can't do activation. So it's like, if we can accept reality for exactly the way it is, that's an interesting definition of healing, then we're in a position to then change it, right? Activate it, do something with it. So let's just breathe and it's like consider all of these platforms. It's hard to separate them out. It's hard to do the transmission unless you're deep inside in certain ways. And most folks, we hardly understand the mind anyway. And so it's just this fickle tool that is so powerful and yet so like elusive. And thank goodness for the breath, right? That's kind of it's like the net with which we capture all this stuff. So I'm inclined to suggest that the breath is the most mighty of the healing power tools, right? Someone would argue for the mind, but then breath conquers mind, breath conquers death. Just notice this breath is continuous. Without it, nada. So it's honoring the supreme prana shakti. I'm just going to bathe in the glow of the prana shakti, the supreme beam. I'm going to say that prana shakti has an activated state, can move through your body and connect all the dots. Vyana prana, samana prana uploads things we haven't assimilated. There's an ejection capacity to it. It has a expulsive function, right, to eliminate, to kick out the carbon dioxide waste products. Apana shakti. And then the udana shakti is the kundalini that rises up. Let's say we mentioned last time there's 3 different kinds of kundalini. There's this, we'll call it the red serpent kundalini, which elevates us, brings us up, elevates consciousness. There's the golden egg light that it's like the grace function coming down, higher forces guiding us, angelic universes, whatever you want to call the invisible world. And then maybe the one that people forget, just call it radiant kundalini, meaning kundalini that's streaming out of the body, every particle, every pore, every atom, every molecule. We are blazing. And so it's a nice mini meditation to consider, just feel your emblazonment. Just feel this incredible expansion of light coming out of the cells, the biophotonics. Which brings me to the next thought about the inside and the outside vectors, which is that we're doers. We're used to that. We're brought up to do. We all went to college maybe and taught all this stuff, to do all this stuff. But for whatever reason, college did not teach us to not do. Maybe we learned it in different ways, but that's certainly not in the academic profile. So this undoing, non-doer, deeper recognition of deeper self, it's a spiritual attainment. So that's kind of the interesting flexi flow, right, between the inner and the outer. You're the doer, but you're not the doer, right? You're the center of it, and yet you're the agent of it. We heal, essentially, we direct, and yet something deeper is actually transacting it. I would give us 8% credit. That kind of makes sense from the point of view of conscious mind is about 8%, maybe less, of the whole totality. So you could blame the rest on God, blame the rest on nature, blame the rest on the deep conscious mind, subconscious, unconscious destiny that's prevailing despite us. Right? Last time I tried to stop the moon, I just couldn't do it. So the allowing portion, control freaks don't make good healers. It's like, the key is in the release, right? We let go too, whoever's doing the work. You know, I was reading this fascinating thing. It's some of the first experiments on how energy medicine affects cancer. They're doing it with lab rats, of course. But it was a very interesting experiment. They had a batch that was, I think, one group of mice was injected, or I think they were all injected with the cancer, that's what it was. And maybe there was one placebo batch. But the point was they brought people who didn't even believe in energy medicine. And they said, we're hiring you for this reason, and we're going to teach you some energy medicine, and we're going to have you do this energy work on the cancerous mice. And so the way it worked out, and they accounted for the placebo effect and everything, and I think the mice that were just shipped somewhere, they all just died, as they thought, 2 weeks. But then the folks who were taught some basic modality in energy medicine, and they did it, I think, for half an hour a day, something like that, for a month. Those mice I think, were still alive. They were 70 to 100% healed. So there's one example of the world of science trying to figure this stuff out, and it might take a while. But the deep self knows this stuff. We don't need to wait for science to explain it back to us in some archaic Stone Age format, when in fact, we're already smart, right? We know this. So let's breathe and just kind of bask in our own supreme intelligence. Just like the idea is feel your potency. Because it really does boil down to thought direction, thought intention, thought frequency. You can knock stuff right out with a thought. So then, maybe you don't need to do that, right? Maybe you just need to be. We don't need to heal anyone, necessarily. But we want to just breathe into the capacity, ultimately to heal ourselves, to project the beautiful feelings to our brothers and sisters. Nice deep breath, softening. Just feeling the coalescing of consciousness. It organizes itself, it's self-organizing. We just need to allow it. You can get extra sleep just sitting quietly. So meditation as the basis is called spiritual power tool for everything. Okay, so what I just flashed on was a thought I had much earlier today, but it's when we say that the breath is the most healing power tool, I have to correct that. I have to say that you are the most healing power tool, because the self, there's nobody like you. There's nobody like a live person healing you. The machines are cool, right? They do good things, but it's created by a person and it's energized and directed by a person. And I think that that's the ultimate way to do it, right? You can go to the hospital if you have a heart attack and they can save your life, but then you might just keep having heart attacks because you're still in the same state, right? Nothing shifted. You're still vulnerable to all the dynamics in your being that maybe we didn't do our homework. So the energy medicine aspect of it is ultimately the inside out vector. So ultimately you're your own healer, your own self-healer. The ultimate tool is the supreme self. But you can't access that without the breath. So again, the breath shows up as like the dude, right? That which gets us what we need. So the go-to gal, the boy Friday, wondrous breath. Just remembering to breathe. When do we do that, right? Athletes, you could argue, are greater yogis than most people because they're so breath conscious, right? Their skills are dependent on this kind of harmonics. So just feeling your mightiness, the profoundness, you as the supreme I am consciousness, the center of the universe. And so this whole inner corridor, let's just look at that again, right? The basis is meditation, self-awareness, quietude, the healing power of stillness. The void space, emptiness is a kind of potency, space as tool. We can strengthen empty space, we can add space. It's kind of what alkaline is. We add space. And we do it all the time in our head. We jam ourselves up and then we give ourselves excuses, right? An excuse is kind of like space. Just suddenly give yourself all this space. Like, oh, it wasn't my fault. Dilute the situation. So this foundation inside, the basis of the stasis. We could say that sound is really powerful in and of itself as a healing tool. But I would argue that sound plus intention is 1,000 times more powerful, seriously, because there's lots of sound healing going on where people are bonging gongs and person's lying there in sort of the midst of all this. If the gonger is really good, yes, but it's not just the gong would be my point, right? It's like, what is that gonger doing in their head while they're healing you or working with you? That's equally important, I would suggest, right? If you want to do anything seriously deep, right? Besides maybe more superficial sound healing, which is great too, but might not heal cancer, might not get the real issue that's going on if that's what you're gunning for. So this idea that sound reverberates through the body, and what obstructs it is connective tissue, which is essentially liquid crystal collagen matrix. It's like a computer field, right? And what jongs us up is all this unfinished business, emotional stuff, trauma is all jammed in. So the part of what the sound healing is doing is it's sending reverberations through the density of your collagen, which is liquid crystal, which means it's going to vibrate in many different ways, right? Radioactively, like radiosonically, it's vibrationally many crystalline levels. So crystals are used in radios for transmission. So this interstitium connective tissue organ is essentially should be our great transmitter. And in fact, most folks are kind of funked up in their connective tissue. It's all janged up with stuff. So, and you can tell if a person's really dense, that's what's going on, right? But if they're really like, whew, they listening to your thoughts as you're thinking them, that person's not that dense in the way that we're understanding here, right? It's like your thoughts, their thoughts, it's all circulating through the liquid crystal matrices, downloading, making sense, reverberating. Evidently 50% of what's going on in the body is sound generated communication. Heartbeat, lead director. And so if you're janged up, these you can't hear, right? The reverberations aren't going to get through the stuff. So meditation seems to lighten it mysteriously, because I know when we do these kind of healings or when we do this kind of beam out, people report afterwards like, wow, I just feel so much lighter, right? Because all this heaviness, all this gravitas, this mostly mental and psychic and emotional pain, if that's not there, right, you're a broadcast station of pure creation. So tune into that. Right? Tune into your genius flow transmission. Everybody's got a gift or many. So let's take this moment to apply the healing power tools. So just kind of notice you. What is your most magical power? How do you affect people? Well, let's go through some of the ways that you might show up. Comedic, right? Are you the clown? Are you a tension releaser person? That's definitely a healing gift, right? Robin Williams is a great healer. Jim Carrey, I consider a great healer. People who show up with a lot of intensity sometimes really help refocus people who are sort of like, whoa, right? Suddenly there's this incredible gravitas and everybody's on board, right? That could go both ways, but let's say from the point of view of higher evolution, it's like spiritual coaching is good, right? We need to hear the tools of creation in action. You could show up almost as an invisible presence. And you think, well, how's that going to help somebody? Well, angels are kind of like that, right? They're like, oh, they're going to help you. Well, just feel it, right? That a person who's in a much more subtle state than somebody who's grumbling about their problem from 5 days ago is going to be more healing for you to be around than, right, the person harping on some negative charge. And let's say from this point of view, you could show up super powerful, just sucking all the air out of the room. Well, that might not be good, right? But it also might be that people need to pay attention to you for whatever reason that day, and this is how you garner their respect, by just showing up with power. People can feel it. There's days when we have it, days that we don't, right? So we can just feel depleted or full or radiant or depressed. So, inner platform, lots of spacious graciousness, sits in the bandwidth of what we call the Vijnanamaya Kosha. It's like that layer that's outside the food sheath, outside the prana sheath, outside the mental sheath, that gives us space to not react. So you could say a power tool would be the formation of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, right? To even know that we can do that, right? We want to focus on the ability to not react. Of course, if you're outraged, I would say that's a positive reaction, right? Anger can be healing from that point of view. Certain reactions are just necessary, maybe even for the benefit of the other person, right? Strict love could be necessary in certain situations. So states of consciousness. If you're in an angry state, everything's horrible. If you're feeling bliss, everything is bliss. So the deep self, what we could say, is a state of consciousness. Transcendental state, Turiya state. Deep sleep is a state of consciousness, but less awakened, obviously. It's ha-ha, right? Subconscious, that's closer to waking, but it's still unconscious for the most part. It's almost like ego creeps into the subconscious. When you're in the deep conscious, it's gone, right? The universe is gone, you're gone. We need this periodic gonzo just to balance all the stuff. So then in this moment, observing what state of consciousness are you in? It's not always easy to meditate at 6:03 in the evening in June because there's so much light. We're not forcing it, but it's, right, maybe the more natural meditation is at night or in early morning. And it will be easier then. So you could say we're attempting to practice this at one of the most difficult times. But the good news would be if you can do it in the most difficult circumstances, then you got it, right? So you can do it anywhere, anytime. Hence, it's not futile, right? It's worth meditating anytime. Just letting all these dimensions coalesce. So what I'm getting to share is, imagine you're in a massive observatory with a mighty telescope. And you can see into any world. And you can transmit anything through that mighty zapper, that telescope. So we're adding lots of space to the meditation. Huge field. And I'm going to then check and see if anyone needs healing of any specific variety. And from this spacious field that we're in, you can just think one thought and it could take care of that problem. When you have a group of us, it often transacts at the speed of light, even faster than one-on-one sometimes. So in this resonant platform, well, before I read the scroll, I know some folks already need it. So this is going out to Cliff, who I'm sure is watching, because Cliff's always watching. Cliff's the dude. Thank you, Cliff, for always being there and valuing everything we do. So sending you extra blessings for your fingers, your feet, your blood work, your body, all the way to New Jersey. Aloha. And then I'm sure there's some local folks that you live with, next door to, whatever, nearby, that could use just some love. And we'll just kind of like, we bless. This goes out to Donna Fry, who's not watching, but she's in the hospital with a stroke. I'm just going to send her some reboot power Shakti so she can be strong, come home. So if there's anything you would like the group here or directed, healing your gut, Marilyn, bloating, discomfort, left tailbone, just fell on it, left big toe, clenching teeth. Okay, there's a little batch we can work on. I'm going to look back, see if there's anything before that. Can we meditate too much? Yes. If I meditated too much more, I'd probably just turn sideways and disappear. It burns up your body tissue, actually, to meditate. You literally turn into fire and air, right? You're burning up the water and the earth element, slowly but surely. So if you're feeling slightly larger than you'd like to be, one of the tools is using the mind to shrink. You think, well, how are you going to do that? I mean, just do it. Just shrink it. Just imagine it shrinking. That's a powerful image, right? That's what we do with tumors, right? People say, Sadama, can you get rid of my tumor? I just start shrinking it. I just start deleting it. Just imagine it nothing. Let's see what else. 1 second. Too much. Okay, well, welcome all these wonderful folks. Well, let's go to gut and tailbone because they're kind of close by. Left big toe, clenching teeth. Okay, so gut, enteric nervous system, digesting reality. This works for everybody, right? Assimilating reality and eliminating reality. My style is just to work mythopoetically from the point of view that the body is nature, is going to tell you about itself in colorful, poetic ways. And we can pick that up, right? We can sort of see the pattern. What is it trying to tell us? It kind of has a sense of humor, but it's very literal. So literally, we digest, assimilate, and eliminate reality in the gut. So if that's the problem, right? What are you digesting, assimilating, not eliminating, or not assimilating, or not digesting would be the healing question. I'm a big fan of healing questions because they spin around and we answer them. And then that answer, as it arrives in the brain, actually transmits out and does some groovy damage of the good variety, right? It takes out the demons. So let's just clear your gut for any negatively charged accumulants. You know, what I've noticed with alcohol, I don't know if alcohol is an issue here, but you know, we all like to drink a little wine, little this, little that. It's probably good for some folks to drink a little bit, but it's fairly toxic, right? It's really not the drug of choice if you want to be a yogi, if you want to be an advanced practitioner of higher consciousness. It does qualify actually as one of the 5 M's in Tantra, right? These are all the naughty things that you're not supposed to do, but you do because it grounds you and shows you that you can be enlightened even doing those things. So it's a kind of a way of like saying, screw you to the Brahmins. But the ideas of Mamsa, Madhu, Metta, what is the alk one for? I think it's Madhu. Anyway, it's one of the 5 M's. And that's so I'm just sort of getting, sometimes the gut gets really upset when alcohol comes in because it just doesn't really know what to do with it in that intensity, right? Most food does break down to alcohol and sugar, but that's a little different, right? That's further along. So it's just clearing anyone that has any alcohol in the system is screwing you up. Just delete files. And let's say whatever else is in our guts that needs to come to balance. Microbiome, microorganisms. And I'm a big fan of talking to the organs And the gut is very available, right? You can just put your palms just right there on your gut and just thank yourself. Massage your gut organs. Love them up. They get stuck. Sometimes they just need a little massage. So just resolving and dissolving. And one thing as healers or ascenders we can do is we link together the nerve supply to the organ. Right? I got clenching teeth. Okay. Okay. I'm moving on now. So anger, clenching teeth, releasing the jaw. Resentment. It's unconscious usually when it's in the jaw, right? It comes up from deep. Temporomandibular joint. We're just gonna masseter muscles, temporalis muscles, apteroids in the back. Just sometimes you can just move your jaw around a little bit, massage it in key places so you don't get a headache from it. And let's say for your particular clenching, my weakness detector is going down to your right kidney. That's another great healing tool, by the way. It's one of the more esoteric ones. It's the hardest maybe to explain. You almost have to be initiated into it. So let's just initiate you all into it if you're not already. The idea is that you can look at someone or a situation and instantly see where the weakness is. And if you can't, you might not be looking for it. But if you're looking for it and you still don't feel it, relax brain again and the unicorn will appear, kind of thing, right? You're just like, oh, okay. You'll be pulled to a certain part of the body that's not quite right. It's sort of waving at you. It's like, over here. So you'll be naturally attracted to it. Because if it's already fine, it's already fine. You don't have to do anything. But it's where it's not fine that you'll be attracted. And then that is often the corollary one-on-one corrector point for a problem that's actually in another location in the body. And that's actually what makes this business so much fun. From the point of view is someone's got this huge problem in one place and you go, hi, how about that over there? And then they're like, whoa, this fixed that. It's like, that really blows our mind because we're not used to that, right? That's magic from our point of view. But it's very basic kinesiological reality that the body is usually stressed in one place, but the symptom will show up in another. So this is the technology of observing where is the true causality happening. It should also be added that we are quantum physics. And because we're quantum physics, that level of reality, it might be safe to say there is no causality there. Like A doesn't make B do something that makes C do something exclusively, right? That's just not quantum physics. Quantum physics is quantum. Everything is affected. Everything affects everything. So where do you begin? Where can you even start? So you can't. It's like mastering an Atmos. It's like, where do you even focus, right? It's stereo, that's one thing, but sound surround, how do you deal with that? Right? It's kind of like that. We're dealing with this undeterminable stuff. So it's good to be able to just feel, oh, problem over here, person's got let's say, clenched teeth, and then, that right kidney just tests weak. So we're gonna zap it. Imagine it fine. Send nerve supply to it and if you're really into this sort of business, learn the chiropractor's chart for where organs and glands plug into your bones. It plugs into your nervous system. It's good to know where your lamp plugs into the wall in case you need to plug it back in, right? So this is not so far off, right? Sometimes the plug comes out, kidney's like, pfft. where's my juice? Right? It's like, plug it back in, whoop, kidney 36 volts. So let's say then you can ask, even though quantum physics has no causality, we also live in Newtonian reality. And so there is causality in Newtonian reality from that point of view, right? If Fred hits you, he did it, right? But hey, why did Fred do it? That gets more interesting. So we're gonna also use this technology to clear a weakness that's elsewhere in the body to fix another part. So let's say then you can ask, where else are the clenching teeth issue tracking? And then if I don't know, I just scan around, just kind of look. And then what do I see? I've been doing this for so long that I see all sorts of things that then I translate my own way, and it's hard to translate to someone else maybe how any particular intuition works. But one way to describe it would be to say that you just look at the situation and you will see differences. Because that seems to be how learning works, right? It's a pattern recognition comparative thing, right? So that's the essence of kinesiology. You test it. Oh, compared to that. Oh, that one's good, but oh, this one's not good. So you're kind of doing kinesiological observation with the eyes. You can see, oh, that doesn't look right. You can do it with the room, right? Come in, something's not right. Look over and, what happened to the sofa? Something's different. So you feel, oh, something's not right. You feel it. Now there's a lot of folks who are professionals at telling you what's wrong with you, but they can't fix you. They're called medical intuitives. And some of them can. But I would also point out there is a difference there. Because sometimes the folks that can fix you better, for whatever reason, may not even know what's wrong with you, actually. It's kind of interesting, right? The super diagnostics create even more weakness because they're thinking about, oh, it could be this and it could be that, and oh, it just gets gnarlier and there's more doctors involved. So if you take that kind of referencing and you sort of check out, oh, what if you don't even know what's going on, but you just love the heck out of the person and say, be gone, demon. Or you're just loving him up. You're just, oh, you have a sore shoulder. Let me massage it. Let me just give you some love. You don't need to know that the shoulder problem came from the fight with the wife earlier in the day or something, maybe. That might help, but it's not necessary is my point, right? So you could just heal as an unconscious healer. And that's kind of nice because a lot of times that's what we are, right? We might even think we know what we're doing, but what do we know, right? So there's a lot to that. So let's just breathe. There's a lot of information today, I know. But I was preparing all kinds of music, and then I was realizing, you know what? It's just not a music day, exactly. So there you go. But we can do a little didgeridoo. Let's just bring all these things together. Healing sound frequency. So where we've been overly intellectual, perhaps, or too much mind, too much thinking, let's say that's okay because we learned some stuff maybe. So let's breathe. We're going to all teleport together here into the dream time. Didgeridoo is a shamanic trance instrument for shamanic trancing. Haven't forgotten about your big toe. Tail brain. Left tailbone. Impact trauma clearing. Thyroid. Okay. Okay, so why don't I just address thyroid issue here, because there's some really interesting things about that I've worked with in the past with good results. Louise Hay, in her wondrous display of what emotion is connected to which part of the body, or which kind of injurious disease situation, she would say that the thyroid has to do with, it's slightly competitive. It's like, when is it going to be my turn? Like, when am I going to get to be front and center, or somewhere where maybe you wish you could be that you're not, whatever that means for you. Just the thyroid, like, gunning its engines, right? It's kind of like the metabolic carburation, air fuel mixture is not quite right. You're overdriving with the fuel. So rum, right? Those racing cars are ready to go. Now, you might have underthyroid, hypothyroid. I'm not sure, maybe you could even type what it is, but either way, this healing works to balance it, whether it's up or down. We've got triiodothyronine, right? So this iodine component, and the thyroxine, the T4, the T3. We want to balance them out. Parathyroids have to do with the calcium metabolism in the heart. Just balancing. And just special honoring to you, Sue, for you're just always there. First person on the scroll often. So I thank you for your devotion and sharing your presence. So hopefully you get awesome healing. This endocrine system is the thyroid. Endocrine, all the bones are kind of endocrine systems of sorts, right? They're regenerative osteoblast centers. Every organ has an endocrine component. The endocrine system runs the show to a large degree, because it's kind of like if this was General Motors, the hormones would be the bosses. So let's go with 300 hormones in order to balance out, the thyroid balance out all the hormones in your body. And let's say for everyone, like a reboot on the hormone level, so that body comes back to just the right balance. Because that's what hormones do. They are balancing operators. Essentially, they come in pairs. They're up and down switches. So if one's too high, the other's going to have to compensate and go down, right? It's kind of like in music, dealing with compression levels. It's a pressure grid deal, right? So your thyroid is trying to, what are these glands doing? They're listening for pressure drop. Pressure drop, oh pressure, right? Or pressure increase. That's how they feel it, right? That's what they're doing. Little sensors that are determining, oh, we have some increase in the water pressure, or, oh, we have to send ADH, we have to lower the water pressure. That's constantly what they're doing. Body is working hard to maintain pH, right? 7.2 pH. You think of it as the acid-alkaline war. Body's just like Afghanistan. It's just going. Just keep on keeping us alkaline, right? So that's a fight. Body's working hard to steal the calcium wherever it can, to soak up the toxins and rebalance us. So these kind of stresses I'm getting could be what's making your thyroid overwork, or maybe you got stressed and is underworking.
Let's see if we got some more information here. Oh, I didn't drink alcohol, but I did have a glass of champagne yesterday. Well, maybe we're right here. Okay. Making up an herbal raspberry. Yummy. Okay. Heal with love. Yes, love is maybe the greatest healing power. Okay. Hypothyroid. Okay, so it's under driving. Neela, left foot with nerve inflammation. Okay, so hypo. Let me just come right back to that. Left foot while I remember. Nerve inflammation. Okay. So Neela, your left foot connects to. It's going up into your father line DNA. So we'll send a blessing for males in the lineage that you married into or in your higher lineage that are having some difficulties. So we just send them love. Sometimes an inflammation, a burning hot spot in the body, a pain in the body it could be just a pain in the body, but it could also be, it's like a message from the DNA saying something's not right, you need to reference back. And often it can turn out to be a person, a very specific person needs some attention, that maybe they're dead, right? But they still need just that thought of them linking to your client. And then that, you think, well, what did that do? But it's just unbelievable. When you do one thing, it's like the universe meets you with 1,000. That would be maybe the most profound thing I've learned in healing, actually. Right? It's like you give $1, the universe just drops 1,000,000 in your bucket. It's just how it works, right? So you zap something, you think, oh, I just sent a little thing, but it's like, whoa, the universe picks it up and runs with it, right? Because we forget how powerful we are. We don't remember this. So going back to hypothyroid, so the underdriving, let me just feel something here. So this takes me into your mother line. And, well, I don't know, I'm just going to sort of take a random, make a random proclamation. Maybe it would be safe to say your mother underdrove, meaning did not live up to even her own expectations, perhaps, and felt bad about that, maybe, something like that. And then that was transferred to you, and you're fighting with that, right? You don't want that. You want more success, whatever it is you want. It's different than, maybe the ancestors settled for something less, and we need to upgrade this so that wish-fulfilling tree, universe, aho. So just blessing the lineages. Okay, well, we're into the overtime, and if you have something still you want to tell me, and I'll review the comments in a little bit. And also an announcement, a friend of mine, John Genyo Sprague, is kind of like a Zen master. And more than that, he's a friend of mine who went to Exeter Academy with me, so I've known him for 50 years. Wow. So anyway, fantastic guy. He has this, he calls it it's like the Global Medicine Show. I forget, sorry, I wish I'd looked up the title, but he's going to be doing this on Thursday. He's going to be staying with me here. And then the following morning is my birthday, and I'm going to do some music beam out, and maybe an afternoon as well. So a lot of music coming up. Hope you can make it. A ton of love to everyone. Hope the healings have been great. I feel your love. I feel your healing coming to me as well. Namaste, namaste.